Hey, wake your ass up. Let's go. It's race time.
And welcome everybody, and welcome everybody to the Canadian Grand Prix, la Formula 1 AWS Grand Prix de Canada. And welcome to Canada, it's beautiful Expo Centre here on the St. Lawrence Seaway, where the track Gilles de Villeneuve is built. And fascinating fact number one for you today is the St. Lawrence Seaway was bought by Lawrence Stroll for his son Lance to practice learning to swim in when he was a boy. Fun fact, Fabio and fun fact. Second Fabio and fun fact, the Aston Martin was aero tested in a vat of maple syrup for better fluid dynamics, which helps it in the rain, hence the outstanding rain results that we get from the Aston Martins here in Canada, a beautiful country full of beautiful people with beautiful cars, beautiful nights, very beautiful old buildings, and probably more beautiful old buildings, and extremely loud music that catches me out every time. Canada, a wonderful place. And welcome also then to my new host. Oh no, he's the old host. It's the old host, the expert Italian, Fabio. Welcome, Fabio.
Hey, how you doing?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this review because so much happened in the race, and I'm so glad to be back in Canada. I got it right. I've been practicing the pronunciation. Pronunciation. Beg your pardon. Okay, so yeah, we've got a lot to get through today, so we're going to get through it. My voice may not survive, but nonetheless, I'm going to give it a go. Welcome everybody out there. Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, moving on then, we're going to go for race review first. And here we go. 5 lights, 4 lights, 3 lights, 2 lights, 1 light, and go! A very quick release, which kind of caught Alonso in second place on the grid out. After having said and bloviated that he was going to challenge Max into the first corner, Max was away like a rat and off into the lead. His car virtually untouchable on the day, as it turned out. A very dry day, considering the forecast of rain, etc., was quite surprising. Followed by then, of course, Carlos Sainz in second place, who managed to get away okay and just chased him down as best he could, unfortunately to no avail. However, Alonso getting past him into the third corner, which then allowed the Mercedes to come up behind. Lewis getting away well. Kevin Magnussen, probably the best start on the grid, came up to 5th place, followed by Ocon, and then Russell overtaking the second Haas, which was Mick Schumacher, into the hairpin. And so ended the first lap. Verstappen, Alonso, Sainz, Hamilton, Magnussen, Ocon, Russell, Schumacher, the Mick, Ricciardo, and Zhao Zhongzhu. So that was basically the order. And I have to say, it kind of stayed the same. Canada not known for its massive overtakings, despite the fact it has 3 DRS zones. And pretty much it was a 2x2 up until lap number 9, where unfortunately one particular car, which shall remain nameless for the moment, ran into what was probably hydraulic problems. I say hydraulic because that tends to be what the problem is still diagnosed after the race, although it looked very much like a gearbox, although, of course, hydraulic gearboxes in these cars Nonetheless, we were moved on. That brought out a massive yellow flag and a virtual safety car. So that wasn't very. That was pretty much expected. And of course, the first thing that happened, Verstappen comes into the pits. Verstappen comes into the pits on lap 9 to change tyres to the hard tyres. The yellows were potentially graining, Lewis complaining of such, and also Max saying his grip was decreasing. However, a few people finding the tricky conditions with the yellow tyres, including Bottas. Magnussen having problems as well, but nonetheless, he then had to pit early in lap 8, and he switched onto his hard tyres early, really guaranteeing a two-stop strategy. However, onwards everybody raced. As I say, lap 8, 9, Perez then having problems with his gearbox, and this triggering then literally everybody else that hadn't stopped to come in, bar Sainz, who did the opposite to Max, took track position and raced on. Again, good strategy calls by Ferrari. Good strategy calls. It wasn't to do them too much good in the end, but nonetheless, it did help Charles Leclerc get right up there and finish in a much higher place. Of course, Charles Leclerc taking engine penalties and starting in 17th place, maybe 19th place. Yep, Fabio's writing that down. I've obviously made a mistake. Anyway, wherever it was, Charles Leclerc started back there, so that was great. It literally was very exciting to see him come through the field. As I say, virtual safety car out, Max pitting, and coming out in, Max pitting, Hamilton pitting, Alonso and Sainz stayed out, and then Verstappen came out in, I don't even know what position he came out in, third, I think. Yeah, third place. So that was great. A bit of a tussle there between Ocon and Hamilton when we got going again. Hamilton taking advantage of that. In fact, it was a very good race for Hamilton. In the end, the car seemed to be less bouncy. It suited this track more, despite the fact that the track is a very rough track. And that really suited his driving style. He managed to get into it, managed to keep his place, and finish in a very decent third place. Okay, sorry, I won't talk about Hamilton. Okay, next up was then, I believe, Schumacher also falling foul, and that put another safety car out, a virtual safety car out, in which Russell pitted, Ocon pitted, Zhou pitted, Ricciardo pitted, Alonso did not pit, still staying out there, managed to stay out there for quite a number of laps. And this hopefully was going to give him a good strategy. Unfortunately, everybody on new tyres was easily able to overtake him. Sainz going up to second place, just 9 seconds behind, and with fresher tyres, having pitted at least 9 laps later than Verstappen, managed to start closing the gap down. Came down to about 7.5 seconds, but was never really able to close it much more than that, which showed that the outright pace, I feel, of the Red Bull was extreme. And, there was very little that could be done, I feel, for Ferrari to win this race. However, onwards they went. They still started catching. Leclerc by this stage was up to 6th place, having stayed out on his hard tyres, which he started the race on. Lap 42 comes and goes, and Leclerc comes into the pit to make it a one-stop. They stick him on yellow tyres and send him back out again. This put him back down to like 9th place, for which he was then able to reclaim a lot of those places, having much fresher tyres and a better sticky compound. Lap 44, then Red Bull hit the strategy button, call Verstappen in and put him back out on hard tyres. A close moment between him and Hamilton on the pit exit. Hamilton just taking advantage, although obviously down the straight, the Red Bull being a lot faster, there was no way Hamilton could keep him behind. In fact, Hamilton just boxed straight away in that next lap 45. He then put white tyres or the hard tyres on, and away he went to finish in a very decent third place when Russell had to pit, who was still ahead of him. There was one last surprise, of course, which was Russell pinning 46. There was one last surprise, which was, of course, somebody. Who was it that crashed out? No, that fall out. There was a yellow flag. Tsunoda.
Tsunoda. Yeah.
It was Yuki Tsunoda, and he was driving Yuki, and that's why I called him that. So Yuki Tsunoda crashed out into turn one, coming straight out of the pits on cold tyres. Forgot to turn right. Obviously dreaming of an IndyCar career, but there we are. He managed to crash. That then led everybody to come into the pits for one last roll of the dice. Sainz coming out in second place behind Verstappen. They might have chosen to put yellow tyres on there, medium tyres. That might have potentially changed the results slightly, but I do feel that the Red Bull was just the faster car in race trim over one lap here, or over multiple laps, I should say. And as such, there really wasn't much of a chance for the strategy to go any differently. That probably wouldn't have made it a difference. However, I do think they possibly could have rolled the dice and gone for first place rather than securing a second place. However, that was the decision they made. And in fact, the race to the end was very close. Sainz managed to stay in the thank you. Sainz managed to stay in the slipstream for some time and got massive amounts of drag at the end, hence the thumbnail. But because of the traction of the Red Bull, was never really able to get close enough to the gearbox coming out of the hairpin in order to make a move into the last chicane, the traditional place for overtaking. And so ended the race. Verstappen first, and again a good race by him. I mean, Sainz kept him under pressure for whatever the 9 or so laps at the end there, possibly more, 15 laps at the end there. Sainz kept him under pressure. Max made no mistakes. A perfect drive for the Verstappen. There was no accident there. It was no accident that Verstappen won. So that is my race review. If we could just go to the race results. We can just quickly go through the race results here. Yes, thank you. So yeah, Max Verstappen first, a brilliant race by Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz putting in a very steady performance. Lewis third, excellent result for Lewis considering the season he's been having. George Russell, again a consistent fourth, showing what a great future driver he's going to be once given a car. Certainly a future world champion. Fifth place, an excellent result for Leclerc, who came from the back, 19th place, as I say, and really great strategy by Ferrari to get him up that high. Esteban Ocon, 6th place, quite uneventful race. He goes under the radar, Ocon, but does tend to bring it home. He's turning out to be a tasty driver, and I foresee him once getting to a decent car, or at least into a decent team, being either a very, very good number 2 and getting a chance that way. Okay, 7th place then. 7th place, Valtteri Bottas. And again, excellent race for Valtteri Bottas on the right strategy. Zhou Zhongzhu, also excellent, bringing up his teammate. Again, the one stop really seemed to work for those that could stretch the tyres longest. And I believe Bottas had a 26-lap yellow tyre, medium tyre stretch or stint, which was far beyond what others were saying that they could go. So again, Bottas showing his class and his expertise. 9th place then was probably, well, you say it's Alonso, but I'm not sure it is. We'll talk about that in a moment. 10th place, Stroll for 1 point. Congratulations to Lance Stroll in his home Grand Prix, bringing home some points. So that's great. 11th place, Daniel Ricciardo. 12th place, Sebastian Vettel. Disappointed considering his free practice 3 results, where he was clearly one of the fastest drivers on track. Obviously, weather conditions are very, very different, showing that car's got good downforce, just not great top speed. 13th place, Albon, bringing in the Williams. Again, another consistent race. He's starting to get used to that car. Pierre Gasly, disappointing fourth place considering. However, that car certainly lacked some aero, and maybe that's due to them making some changes because of the bouncing. We don't know yet. We will be talking about that soon. 15th place, Lando Norris, very disappointed considering much more was expected. However, that car finding its level, and I think we're going to have to wait. It's very circuit dependent, the McLaren, and so we're going to have to wait till we get to some high downforce circuits to see Norris back up there, I feel. Latifi, a good result for Latifi considering, not too far behind Albon in terms of lap time, but nonetheless still needs to put some improvements in. Otherwise, I feel he will be gone in the next season, even though he is comes with a lot of money. Magnussen, very disappointed. I think he had some problems with the car, and from a great start and a great qualifying position, shows that the Haas doesn't really have the best of both worlds, which is either qualifies well or races well, but not both. Yuki Tsunoda, DNF, of course, as we mentioned. Hydraulics again, I believe, for Yuki. That Honda engine has some weaknesses, which again we will be talking about. 19th place. And with Schumacher, again, DNF for him. Sergio Perez, DNF, gearbox. And there we go. I believe that's it. No, I don't think there are any more runners than that. Maybe Lewis Hamilton's dog. I don't know. Roscoe. Did Roscoe finish? Don't know. Okay, there we go. Thank you so much. That was my race recap of Canada 2022, the Canadian Grand Prix Formula One World Championship, said in dramatic form in order to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. Now I'm going to pass it over to somebody who does know what they're talking about, my co-host for today, and much into the future probably, although we haven't signed him for next year, at least another hour. Thank you.
The future, at least.
So that is a long time for me anyway. But there we go. I'm going to go and get a drink now, and I will see you later, about an hour's time. Over to Fabio, the fantastic, fabulous Fabio, the expert Italian.
Yeah, so, I mean, the recap was pretty much spot on. Really bad luck for us. They made a great qualifying, but then Magnussen had an accident with, I can't remember who. He just, broke the front wing, had to had to stop and make something happen to his car. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was quite interesting and quite very close at the end. Last 15 minutes were really intense after the safety car because of the accident. That's but you said hydraulics about Tsunoda. I don't know. I mean, it drove into a bloody wall. I don't know if it has to do with maybe after he crashed into the wall there were some hydraulics all over his face, but I don't know. Anyway,
sorry, that's my mistake. Yeah,
there were an exciting, I think, 20 laps. It was good to see that Ferrari didn't make any major tactic mistakes. They had a bit of a kerfuffle with the pit stop with Leclerc. It was a 5.3 seconds, which basically was the difference between having him rejoin the race ahead of the pack. I think it was comprised of who was there, Ricciardo, Con, all these people, and Bottas. And
I think Magnussen was still in at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, that was the reason he found himself into this pack. He basically burned the tires in order to to overtake them as quickly as he could, and at the end, he just didn't have the pace to get back at the Mercedes, which I think it was a fair position for him. Fantastic race. Started from the 19th position. I I would have loved if Ferrari tried something a little bit different with Sainz, and I thought for a second, how about they put red tires instead of yellow tires at the end? I think I think it might have been so. It might have been risky. The thing is that they were already second, so I don't think that they were going to lose the position anyway. And they might have tried it mostly because they tried the red tires on Friday in FP1, FP2, and because of the way of the tarmac of the track, they saw that there wasn't too much. It wasn't super grippy, so maybe the red tires would have lasted, those 20 laps. We don't know. I mean, I would have loved for them to try. They literally had nothing to lose. I would have loved them to do, just give it a shot and see what the fuck happens. Worst can happen, you still get second. I don't.
Yeah, maybe. I think obviously they had pressure from behind, but I don't think that the Mercedes was going to be fast enough to overtake, even if their tyres went off a bit. Hence, I kind of, like, as soon as I saw them pit, I was in there. And as I saw him pull up, I was like, yes, yellow tyres, and they've got the advantage. They can do this. Yeah. And then they put white tyres on, hard tyres on. And I thought, okay, I don't think maybe 5 or 6 laps fresher tyres is really an advantage. It's going to give you anything over a Red Bull.
No.
So, I just thought maybe they just played it too safe there. Red tyres, I don't know. It was a green track again because of the washout in FP3. So potentially that might have been a little too risky. But they had data that a Ferrari type car or with a Ferrari engine could go at least 26 laps on yellow tires.
Oh yeah.
And there were only 20 laps to go. So I don't see why they didn't do that. But anyway.
I mean, no, I agree with you. I think they might have done even with red tires. Even if maybe a little bit of a stretch. But maybe we saw how difficult it was to pass, right? Also, I think that Ferrari was a better car than Red Bull, even in racing trim this weekend. So if Sainz was ahead of Verstappen, I think he would have had, a hell of a job, overtaking Sainz. It is true that Ferrari had some really weird problems with traction at the exit of the hairpin.
Yeah,
I was watching the stopwatch every time because I thought, okay, if Sainz manages to be half a second behind Verstappen at the hairpin, he will get him. But it was always, 1/7 of a second, 1/8 of a second, and he just couldn't get, enough drive, to overtake the guy. So I think that half a second was the Goldilocks zone, but he never get to that point. He tried at the last lap, but he made a mistake. So this is how it went. I think got to give credit to Verstappen, especially more than the car, because again, I think that the car that Ferrari, even Sainz Ferrari was better than Verstappen Red Bull, but Max made no mistake whatsoever, despite the pressure that Sainz put on him. So I think it was a deserved victory, even if Carlos wasn't that happy anyway.
Okay, so my understanding is that the gearbox ratios are fixed at the beginning of the season, and that they're not allowed to change them anymore mid-season.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's the season or the weekend. Maybe it's the season. Maybe you're right.
I have a feeling that they're fixed for a season. In which case, there's nothing that Ferrari can do to get or to keep up with the traction that the Red Bull is able to put down. It doesn't mean that it will always be able to put that down.
Yeah.
But it means that if the tyres are fresh enough, it means that those low gears, presumably gear 2, 3, 4, and possibly 5, the Red Bull is going to be able to out accelerate the Ferrari for whatever reason. Presumably, the Ferrari is set up for a better top speed, or to push the wing at a higher speed, at least give more torque in gears 6, 7, and 8. If that's the case, that's not so good. And my memory of history is that McLaren used to do this. This is when you could have open gearboxes. McLaren would always set up their cars to have great acceleration out of corners, and they would suffer slightly in that their cars wouldn't approach top speed quite as quickly. But of course, on most of the circuits, you only did that towards the end of the straights anyway.
Right.
And if you were in a tow, it didn't make any difference.
Yeah.
So that's why they would do it. Now, if Red Bull have gone for that kind of gearbox setup, wow, that means they really threw their cards at a low downforce car this year, and
Yeah. No.
it's really going to pay dividends.
Well, I think that it's, the Red Bull is a little bit more efficient as a car, aero efficient. I don't think they're running. I don't think it's a bigger low downforce car. I mean, if you compare the wings and all that stuff, I don't think that they're running particularly low on downforce. But I think that it's the fact that it's a very efficient car, aerodynamically, and it shows at the end of the straight. So I think that one of the reasons why they went, for shorter gear is that they know they have that kind of advantage, at the end because of the way that the car is built. So they want to gain a little bit at the beginning with more acceleration. That might be the case. I don't know how much is going to pay out in other circuits, but I think we'll have to see. I think that the next 4 races, they are the ones which, historically. I'm not going to say that they decide the championship, but we have the next 4 races are going to be something to really look at. Anyway, some other quick notes I made. Fantastic Leclerc, the overtakes that he made at the hairpin on Ocon, and Alonso and Ocon were fantastic. I think it was the only one which was able to overtake in that part of the circuit. I mean, I can't recall anybody else trying that. The other thing I want to say, I was really excited in the qualifications when Russell tried red tires. It didn't work, but yeah, go for it. I really loved that.
Yeah, thanks. That was, sorry to stop. I need to stop you there. That was a quick question not question, but that was a quick comment by Babelvis, and I like that Russell had the courage to try the slicks in qualification. So we're all agreed there. Although a little naive to really take the first corner the way he did, I feel, or second.
Yeah, he tried. I mean, if I remember correctly, when he tried that, the biggest problem were at turn 1, 2, and 10, which were still wet. And yeah, I mean, he made the first one. I said, okay, good. And then the second one, he just. But yeah, anyway, it's no pain, no gain, right? And he's driving a Mercedes, which is funny to say, but it's really a B car, this year. So yeah, I think he had to try something different. There is another point I want to make, and it seems to be that the way the car and the rules of the FIA, they really work, at least in one aspect that they said they were going to work, and it's that they're able to stay in the slipstream for way longer than last year cars, and without all the nasty effects that they had last year. And the proof of it was Sainz that was able to be in a less than 1 second tow for 15 laps consecutively with Verstappen. And so that is something big. It's major. swings and roundabouts is the fact that because of the car, they are less affected by the slipstream. The slipstream is not as effective as it was last year, if you get what I mean. So it's true you can stay in the slipstream longer, but it's way less potent. But still, I think it gives more chances to see duels and all that kind of stuff. I mean, at least we don't see car, breaking on purpose because temperatures are all over the roof and the tires are being destroyed.
And the tires go off after a couple of laps. At least the tires are staying in there. Although you can still, I think you can still tell that the tires are going off when a car is following one another. I don't think they've cured that problem, just much less. And also the drivers, the tires are much harder anyway. So even if they are going off, they don't degrade quite so quickly anyway.
Yeah, but however, it's good for the show, right? So I think it's a bonus. It's a plus.
It's good for the show, provided we've got DRS. Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I mean, DRS was, I think it's part of the overall equation. So if you have to put all the things, on the right spot, and I would say that this year we have, closer combats. We have cars following. Even the, forget about Sainz and Verstappen. There was that train of car that Leclerc got stuck into it with. I think it was Ricciardo, Ocon, maybe Magnussen and Alonso. I can't remember. I mean, they were raced. They've been racing for laps and laps and laps, and they were literally one behind each other. So, that was another good thing to see. And good job by the the TV directors. There was some interesting duels. They managed not to make a shitstorm like they used to. So that was good. For a
couple of things by Bob. I'm just going to call you Bob. What all those 0.96 second distance rounds for Sainz? What's that? 400th of a second? Yeah, and it was amazing that he managed to keep in the slipstreams for so long. And although Bob says, and then 1.3 something in the last lap.
The 1.3 was at the
hairpin, I think.
Yeah, it was. So the 3 corners from the start finish line at the hairpin, because he really tried. He knew he had to be way closer than 8 tenths of a second, 7. He had to be less than 5 alpha seconds, stuff like that. So he tried, but he overdrove in the hairpin and he lost it for a little bit, and that was the 1.3. But
I mean, again, nothing to lose there. He wasn't going to manage to overtake him if he didn't get very close. So I think he tried to outbraked himself a little bit into the hairpin and that, and then a perfect Max who never outbraked himself, but never gave him anything either. Never broke too early into that hairpin. Perfect. I think it doesn't bode well, because it just shows that the Red Bull is set up so superbly that you're going to have to use strategy to outwit the Red Bull team. That isn't going to be easy.
So it's weird because as I said before, I think that the best car last Sunday was it wasn't the Red Bull, but it was the Ferrari, even on race pace. I think that the biggest difference was the fact that Verstappen was driving the number 1 car and Sainz was driving the number 2 car. It's all ifs and buts and stuff like that. But, I have this weird feeling that if instead of Sainz it was Leclerc, it would have been a totally different game. I don't know. I mean, again, I had the impression that the car, that the Ferrari was better than the Red Bull. And just because of the fact that I've never seen Sainz so close to Max this year ever. He also made the fastest lap. So I mean, there were a lot of things that were saying that Sainz really had a superior car.
Yeah, I'm a little bit dubious about that. I've got to say, for two reasons. Firstly, yeah, of course he had a faster lap. That's because Max was pulling him round. So he only had to stay in his gearbox to get a faster lap. And that with the DRS, of course, made the difference. So I don't think the fastest lap really is an indicator. I just feel that the on a one lap pace, potentially on heavy fuel, that the Ferrari would have been a few tenths quicker than the Red Bull. But actually, in under race conditions, that's probably not going to be the case. I think the Red Bull was easier to get that lap pace out of on heavy car conditions, simply because it had a higher top speed down the straights, and that's really what made the difference. So you had to use the car in the first and second sectors in order to get that time out of the Ferrari, which left it vulnerable, or would have left it vulnerable anyway. So yeah,
No, I
but
mean,
anyway, I'm not disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, just to leave it there. I see your point. It's fair. The only thing is that everything I've said is because I think that Sainz is not on the same level as Max. So the fact that Sainz was able to be where he was,
Gotcha.
I think that the car played a big part into that. And even looking at Leclerc's race, so yeah. Anyway, but the race is over,
Yeah.
and that's the situation.
I mean, the way
and
he
that's
got
the
past
final result for everybody, but for Alonso, which got 5-second penalty because he couldn't pass fucking Bottas. That was amazing. That was amazing. I mean,
because
Bottas,
he blocked Bottas getting past
yeah.
him. Yeah. But anyway, I thought that just a quick point to what you just mentioned, which was I thought that the Mercedes had trouble getting past the Alpines again, and the Alpines seemed to be the faster of the non-running or non-top cars. They managed to do it relatively easy with DRS in the end, but they still had problems doing that. Whereas Leclerc breezed past them. I mean, absolutely breezed past them. So and really didn't get held up by the Alpines at all. And I think that goes to show you that that Leclerc, the pacey pastry, was on his game, and actually not given. If he hadn't have had the penalties, then I also agree. I don't think Red Bull would have been able to pull such an easy strategy to win.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I think we have to adapt that. Alpine is a weird animal this year. It reminds me a lot of the way that Williams used to make cars like 4 or 5 years ago, when they knew they had very few chances, so they made cars that were extremely fast on the straight. And then here comes the corner, fuck me if I can make it, and stuff like that. So I think that I don't think they are as extreme as the Williams used to be, but I think that is the kind of philosophy they're following.
Agreed.
The problems that Alonso had at the end, I think it was they had they had some air intake that was not supposed to be there. Maybe the air box cracked or stuff like that. But they had issues,
Okay.
So they had to. Alonso had to to pull up a little bit. So
fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Again, it's great strategy or great car design by Red Bull. Again, I feel that now I'm looking at it nearly half a season. I can see clearly, actually, that what they've done is recognize that their best shot is to make less of the underground force. Is it ground force? And actually just have a lower downforce setting in general, with less drag, and have an efficient car in order to make the most of a fast car rather than a high downforce car. They still have a relatively high downforce car, but I'm just saying they seem to me to be, less taking less from their downforce underneath the car.
the results, they tell you that story, and it's true. So I'm not discussing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, I still don't think that the Red Bull is such a better car than Ferrari than the points show. I would also suggest that I think that as a car, let's take the reliability issues, aside from 1 second, right? But if we take them out of the equation, I still think that the Ferrari is still a better car than the Red Bull. At the beginning of the season, they had a lot of issues, of course. They had, a lot of setbacks, and I don't think, and I know, I don't want to sound bitter or anything, because, I mean, you know how we think, but if I have to be honest, I don't think that the 7 to situation is really a fair representation of the values of both the cars and the drivers. So I think there have been some external factors. Of course, Ferrari made a couple of huge mistakes as a team, and they also had reliability issues. Nobody's denying that. But I think that 7-2, it doesn't paint a fair picture of what we've seen if we look at the cars and drivers right now. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I would certainly agree that the Ferrari looks to be a better Formula One car. That would be how I would put it. It looks to be that it has more downforce and it has a great top speed and a very powerful engine. Therefore, it should be leading the field as far as I can see. However, I think Red Bull have played a few blinding cards, which is to accept a limitation in order to gain, shall we say, race efficiency. And I think that's where they've played a real blinder, just like they did back in the late Vettel days when they were coming up with bendy wings and their car wasn't quite there, but they still won 4 world chance titles on the trot.
No.
Because they know how to concentrate what little they have and to use it very well. And I think Ferrari haven't been doing that this year. And on top of that, again, I think we're slightly skewed at this point in the season because the Ferrari car is going to be better at particular circuits coming up. A lot of circuits coming up, right? The street circuits, the high downforce circuits, where especially medium high downforce circuits, medium speed corners where the high downforce is most useful. Those kind of circuits Ferraris are going to be best at, and those are the ones that they've had problems with reliability wise. So those are all ones which they should have really been taking wins away from Red Bull, and the fact they haven't really has skewed the championship so far. I'm hopeful. I mean, the next couple, admittedly, are not like that with Silverstone coming up, but I think Ferrari are really going to give Red Bull the run during the second half of the season, and I think this is far from over.
Listen, I don't want to.
That's my talk up anyway.
No. But I totally agree with you. I just shut up now and saying that there was a fantastic driver in the old days, very old days. His name was Chris Amon. Chris Amon was the fastest driver ever not to win a world championship. And that guy, even if it is true that bad luck doesn't exist in racing and stuff like that, Chris Amon might have something to say about that. And if people don't know who Chris Amon is, I urge you to read his bio, to read books about him. He was really a fascinating driver. I just leave you with that. I think that Chris Amon was the most loved driver by Enzo Ferrari. I think it was Chris Amon, Gilles Villeneuve, and
could you just spell that? Because Armand, I believe it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's,
Amon. Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Chris Amon. Uh, so I'm not going to play, the Chris Amon card, and invoking bad luck. But I will say that this year, so far, uh, all the accidents that Red Bull had, they turn out to be less devastating than the problems that Ferrari had. That's why I'm saying that the 7-2, it's kind of okay.
Yeah, no,
But
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a quick question here by
Yes.
Elvis. So he says, Simos and Fabio, or Funk and Fabio, if Elon Musk begs you to make a large sum of money, bet him betting that Verstappen won't be world champion, how much money would you bet that Verstappen will be champion?
So I have to bet against Elon Musk, and Elon Musk says that Verstappen will not be the world champion.
That's how I'm reading that. Yeah. And so you have to bet Verstappen will be champion. How much money would you bet to make money off Elon Musk? It's a real nasty question, I've got to say.
It's really nasty, yeah.
My heart says I wouldn't bet a penny. I genuinely think it's still a very open championship. I understand that Verstappen looks to be in a very dominant car. He looks to be doing this relatively easy. He's got a situation where his team are fully behind him and they're pouring money into reliability at a huge rate, which I think they can do without getting past the cost cap. I think there's a little loophole that they're pulling out there to get money on reliability. But nonetheless, I still think this is a track sensitive season, right? And I do think that although the tracks have evened out, I mean, in years past, it was the highest downforce cars usually won the championship because there weren't many Monzas. Okay. So therefore, there were a few, Suzuka, Canada,
there is a Silverstone
Monza,
up, so.
Silverstone. All of these were power tracks, and traditionally speaking, the cars would go 2x2, and that showed you that they were very much dependent on power and their downforce relations, mainly the power. Now that was only 4 of 16, right? So there were 12 races, things like Imola, many other circuits, right? San Marino, San Marino. The many other circuits, A1 Ring, etc., where the higher downforce cars were going to be the ones that won, and very often there was a crossover in the 90s where circuits started becoming less power sensitive and more power sensitive, and as such, the McLaren team kind of killed themselves because McLaren always used to build a higher downforce as possible car. Same with Red Bull as well. At the change at the end of Sebastian's World Championships, that's what happened. That's why Mercedes were able to do 7 in a row, because they literally started going to less downforce sensitive circuits, where Red Bull clearly had a huge advantage. And so I'm kind of on the fence about it. Now, I think it's come down to 50-50. And if Ferrari can get the gremlins, let's call them that way, and their bad luck on strategy and whatever else out the way, and they can really maximize those particular circuits. And here's the deciding factor for me, that Mercedes can start taking points off Red Bull at those circuits, right, where the downforce is more important. Then perchance I'd feel that Ferrari have a chance to win. It's still open as far as I'm concerned, and I wouldn't bet too much money.
Well, I mean, I would bet. Let's say I would bet a couple of €1,000 against Elon Musk, just to fuck with the guy, So because I really despise the guy. No, but you're right. But there is the fact that now, as I said before, there is 4 or 5 races where is going to be super interesting. There's going to be super interesting also because of the fact that I think that Red Bull is going to bring something in Silverstone, some development of the car. Next race, no, you don't think so?
No, I don't think so. That's just talk.
Okay, well,
That's just
anyway.
keeping the pressure on. If anything, all they're really worried about is their reliability, and all they're really going to be trying to do is to get their cooling. I think that's what they're really going to be bringing. Any aero that comes in is not going to be for improving downforce. It's going to be to improve cooling.
I am fine if they don't, so I'm not complaining about that.
No, I think they will, but they're going to be doing it to improve cooling, not to improve downforce. Yeah. So if anything, they're going to lose. They're going to lose some.
Yeah, but I mean, no. I was just saying that there is a set of races coming up, which is going to be super interesting. I mean, there's going to be Silverstone in 2 weeks, and then it's going to be Austria, France, another, fairly fast.
3 power circuits in a row.
yeah, Hungary, and then
Hungary not so much then.
Yeah, but not to be, and then Spa. Then they go to the Netherlands, and then there's going to be Monza, Singapore, and Japan.
Right.
So, there are some kind of, power circuits coming up. So, we got to see.
I get you, yeah.
Yeah.
It's looking at the list.
This goes towards what you were just saying. It's really open, and I think that now there is a set of circuits which are, quite different from the ones that we had right now, where we might be able to see something different, coming up, from the cars, from the overall performances and all that shit. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's gonna be super interesting anyway.
Yeah, but that's fair. That's all fair. Okay, I think we need to thank you very much, above all this, Fabio, like a boss. Okay, fair enough. Can't argue with that. He is the Italian expert. Okay, move.
And I just love to take the piss out of Elon Musk. So,
that's fine. That's fine. Okay, I think I heard a rumor Elon Musk was buying a Formula One team. But anyway, there we go. That's what I heard. Yeah. I think he's going to make it all electric as well for some reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it going to fire everybody which doesn't agree the way that he runs that company too? Because
something like that.
Okay.
I think he's going to call it Tosser. Tossler. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. I would like to bring in live from Canada. We sent him out to Canada for a very exclusive interview with some of the drivers. I'm hoping he managed to do that. Peter, are you there? Pit lane, Peter. Are you in the pit lane? How did things go? And I can see you're in. You're in Canada? That is in fact in Montreal.
That is in fact in Montreal.
Okay, fantastic. Wow, I thought you would have spent the money on hookers in Canada, in Texas.
Well, no, okay. I just took the money that you gave me to bribe the drivers into talking to me, and I spent all of that on this fabulous hotel. I mean, I didn't talk to any drivers, but beautiful. I mean, they wouldn't have talked to me anyway. I mean, so it is what it is. I'm still team of the underpaid executive.
Well, I don't know about underpaid. Looking at that hotel, Fabio, I think we're gonna have to cut his wages again.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
There's anything to cut. There's not a knife as thin that you can still cut any of the wages that I get. So, no.
Well, I mean, you don't want to try us. You don't want to try.
Well. I actually received a knife from Helmut Marko, so I think we can do something.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Although speaking about Helmut Marko, Max does disagree with you when it comes to the cars. Max gave an interview and said Ferrari has the faster car. So, not sure. It's probably just politics, or I don't know. But yeah. Okay, so
despite the fact he got pole position, and he won the race from lights to flag virtually. Apart from a couple of pit stops, he's saying he doesn't have the fastest car. Okay, so Max.
One thing, I do think that Max is better under pressure than the other young drivers like Leclerc and Sainz. I think having grown up with his dad, there's probably nothing that he's going to be afraid of apart from dad. So
Might be the case. I'm not convinced of that yet, and I'll tell you. Here's the reason why. Schumacher was absolutely brilliant at the front of a race, but you put him in second place or someone right on his tail, he just wasn't quite so good. So yeah, that was one of the ways Mickey used to get to him, was to stay on his tail for lap after lap, and then eventually Michael would make a mistake. So even the best drivers,
we did see that
drivers
quite early on with when he got his first race win with Raikkonen on his tail. Pretty
absolutely.
So yeah, I think he can handle it pretty good. Even though I'm still in the Mercedes camp, rooting for Sir Lewis Hamilton. So
no, I think that's going to be Max's weakness. But anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Also, Bob Ells, thanks for the answers, guys. No problem, Bob. Thank you for the questions. Anyway, carry on, Peter. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah. So this was one to remember, the first and probably the last time that we had actually this. We had the Wall of Champions meet the champions of walls. Probably not going to happen anymore next year, I think. I already saw a tweet where he's probably going to be replaced, but we'll see whether or not he's still there in Silverstone. Another thing Fabio asked, and that was to have a quick reminder that it is 40 years ago since we lost Gilles Villeneuve, May 8, 1982. Fabio, did you wanted to say something about you?
No. Well, I mean, the only thing is that one of the main reasons why we saw so many people on the stands, rooting for Ferrari, especially in Canada, is because of this little guy. It was brilliant. I think it was one of it will be remembered because it was really how can I say, it was showing everybody what a racing driver is. The way that he drove the car, the way that he destroyed the cars, and the way that he always had full support from the team, even when he was destroying the cars, because he was putting literally 200% in everything he did. So yeah, it's not by chance that even right now is one of the names that, I would say all, but the vast majority of people which follow F1 remember as a driver. He just went straight to to this mythical place where all the great drivers are, and it funnily enough, it doesn't really matter if he won a world championship or not. That's the funny thing, because he never did. But the way that he drove, the way that he was conveying passion in what he did, how he drive, I think it still remain something that we haven't seen it ever since. So yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but he was the first one to win on that circuit in Canada that now bears his name. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first person to do a lot of things. He was the first person to win with a turbo engine in Monaco. Yeah, he won in Canada, of course. That's the circuit is dedicated to him. Yeah.
Also, I'd like to just say one thing quickly, which is at the time he was renowned in the pit for being shall I say, a really aggressive and hard driver, but an easy person to get along with.
Yes.
Never aggressive and always thinking of other drivers. The true Formula One driver of that era, when life and limb were risked every time you stepped into your car. And he never forgot that. And he lived it as passion, because that's literally the way all the drivers had to approach it. And he respected the other drivers for doing that. And then he showed that he was a head above most of them. So, if not all of them.
Enzo Ferrari loved him like a son. I mean, there's so many great stories about Gilles. And there's, one which pops in my mind, really, really short one. I can't remember which race it was where he completely destroyed the back end of the car, and he got into the pit on three wheels. And the fourth wheel was literally hanging out of the car. It wasn't even attached to anything. And he came back in the pit, and and Forghieri, which was the one of the greatest F1 engineers ever existed, and it was running the team at the time. So Gilles asked to Forghieri, "Can you fix the car? I want to get back." And Forghieri looked at him and said, "Man, 25% of your car is not there anymore. There is nothing to fix. So no, we can't. Get out of the car. I'm sorry, it's over." But that was the passion he was putting in driving. He literally got in the pit on three wheels, and he asked the people to fix this car because he wanted to get back.
Yeah. And one of the things I remember about that race was the commentary. Murray Walker was going, "Oh, well, if he drives like that, he's not even going to get back to the pits." Right? And James Hunt, I think it was James Hunt. No, it wasn't. Yeah, I think it was James Hunt was saying, oh no, it wasn't James. It was Murray Walker saying, if he drives like that, he's not even going to get back to the pits. And then because it was still quite a long way to go till he got to the pits.
Yeah.
And when he finally got halfway around and he's entering the pits, well, I didn't think he was going to get there. That's amazing driving.
Yes.
Just to get back to the pits, let alone fucking get in there and go, "Come on, fix it." And he pointed. He gestated out the car to say, "Yes, do it." And everybody's around him waving, going, "Nope, that's not going to happen."
Yeah, but I mean, it did things that will
great.
remain in history. Like the duel, the famous duel with René Arnoux in Dijon. And the funny thing was that so that race was the first race that a turbo engine won a race. The funny thing is that nobody fucking remembers who won, which I think it was Jabouille on the other Renault, which was way ahead. And the old duel with Gilles and René was for the second and third position. But nobody gives a flying fuck about that race, but for the duel that these two had. And when they arrived, they got to the car, and the car said, wheel signs on the side pods, I mean, they were smashing their cars into each other, literally. And, they jumped out of the car, they shook their hand, I think they went up, for wine or whatever the fuck they did.
They just hugged each other. They just went out to each other and hugged each other and went, "Oh, that was amazing." I mean, they were overtaking each other off the track.
And René Arnoux still maintains to this day that was the best thing ever happened to him in F1. And he said it was really funny because we were driving in such a way that we were probably going to kill each other at every corner. But at the same time, he says that, I don't know if it's just, something you say afterwards, but he said that he knew that they were doing something that was going to remain in the history. He was fully aware while, they were trying to kill each other. So, Gilles Villeneuve.
Gilles Villeneuve, one of the greatest car controllers of all time.
Yes.
Well,
And I'll never forget seeing him going through a corner at 120, sliding all four wheels on opposite lock. Oh, wow. Sorry, go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, one of the good things is that his son did some of the interviews during the Grand Prix in last weekend, and we have a picture because he wasn't alone. He brought his 5-month-old son, who's called Gilles. So there's another Gilles Villeneuve coming up. Okay, so another thing is that you mentioned a guy named Gary. I mean, obviously the Canadian Grand Prix has always been about Gary, not about the Gary that you mentioned, but this guy, Gary the Groundhog, a famous participant of all the Canadian Grand Prix. And I have a small video, a small video of him here, where he's inspecting the track at his own risk. And yeah, I mean, that only goes well until it goes wrong. And so sadly, during qualifying, we saw this. Latifi, during qualifying, and there goes Gary, and that was Gary.
No,
so we're not going to see Gary anymore, which is it's really sad.
So going
really,
one shot safe,
really sad.
Alonso behind.
Copy. Shit, I couldn't avoid it. It was in the braking zone.
It's fine, no worry.
Yeah,
The
so
brakes in temperature, not
what
with them.
happened next was that obviously Sergio Perez, great driver, he stopped in the middle of the race to just check on Gary's family, whether or not they were okay. He couldn't find them, but at least he tried, and I think that's the effort that shows. So we will have fond memories of Gary as well, one of the true track marshals. Another thing was Mercedes. Mercedes obviously getting tired of people asking them to fix the car. They tweeted this, admin reading, fix the car, which I don't think Lewis agrees, because in the US there used to be a series on TV called Hardcore Pawn, and Pawn is spelled Pawn, which was on a network called True TV, where people could bring things to the pawn shop. And so we saw this as well. I want to sell the W13. Well, best I can do is give you $12.50. So, yeah, that is what you get. I mean, it's a terrible car still. Then another thing, and I like the input of both of you. Do you both hate Alonso as much as I do right now after this race?
I love the guy. I mean, I used to.
He robbed us. He robbed us from the best world championship standings of all time.
I used to not like Alonso. I really despise the guy. Ever since he's back, he is my number one driver. Simons knows that. I send him messages, in qualifying, go Alonso. I mean, because he doesn't give two fucks about it. I love him. So, yeah.
But he robbed
He made the difference for me when...
Yeah, go ahead, Simons.
Well, he made the difference for me when he parked up in the McLaren and went and did a bit of sunbathing in the middle of a circuit one year.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, that's another thing.
And that, by the way, that picture is still a meme to this day. It pops up every once in a while. You will see Alonso on his chair looking back at the rest. But we had such a great outcome after this Grand Prix, and I don't think anyone noticed. Have you noticed the point standing of the Grand Prix and noticed anything special?
No.
See, I think it was about an hour and a half until Alonso got his 5-second time penalty. We had these standings. Lewis Hamilton, 77. Valtteri Bottas, 44. That was just to have...
Wow, spooky.
Just to have that going into Silverstone would have been so amazing. A lot of people would have seen that as true bromance. after Bottas
Oh,
left.
it's gematria. That is proper gematria, right there.
Yeah, see? And that's probably because the gods are interfering with the race gods, obviously, are interfering with everything. And probably we're going to see Lewis get an 8th world title after all of this. So, yeah, that was...
Yeah, so if you go back to... Well, you've already taken it down.
Oh,
Okay, that's okay. So that's great. Yes, R.I.P. Gary. Thank you, Bub, for that. And, yep, wonderful. If you go back, you'll find there was a debate between Fabio and myself over whether Jesus works for Mercedes. That was the 2018 season, I believe. So just go back in the playlist. You'll see that at the top of the screen on the top right of the screen on the thing. And you can go back and see exactly what we had to say about whether Jesus works for Mercedes. So, yeah, that's a blast from the past there. Thank you.
And I did have one other thing. I don't know if any of you watched it, but in the Netherlands we had the Formula Regional European Championship on Zandvoort. And have any of you seen any?
Oh, never miss a race on Zandvoort. You know me.
Yeah, see, because we had 2 drivers, Pietro Deli Guanti, obviously someone that Fabio knows very well, and Esteban Masson, and they touched each other in the Gerlach corner. And so...
And if that isn't inappropriate, I don't know what is.
See, that's same for me. And I'm probably have to do a replay because of the transition, but so here's what happened. There we go. Did you catch it? Hold on, I'll just replay it. There we go. He completely passed the barriers. Luckily, both drivers were okay and got out of their cars without any significant harm. But
typical Italian overtaking. You see that on the streets. You see that on the streets of Rome every day.
Yes.
No. That never happen. That only happens because that guy. This is the reason why that guy doesn't drive in Italy anymore, because he could not drive. So we send it abroad. Yeah, you go there. You're good enough for the Dutch. Not good enough for.
It is.
Well, either that or he was secretly a German and he was going for the beach towel first.
I think
and
that's.
Also, you're assuming that the guy over the fences was the Italian one.
That was the Italian. That was the Italian.
See?
Yeah.
I guessed. He was just heading for the pool first. That's all. He just wanted to get to that towel first.
He was literally trying to overtake instead of passing. I mean, it happens.
There you go.
And he put in a great effort.
It does. Indeed. Okay. Thank you so much. Have you finished or?
Yeah, I
don't want to cut you off early.
You always cut me off early. That's what you do. That's why you're here. I mean,
try using more spit then.
Okay. No.
Okay.
That was literally everything I had for this week. That was it.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was very good.
I'm trying to overtalk you.
That's fine. Well, like I said, for my special piece. So
we weren't going to talk about sex, Simus.
Okay. Sorry. Remember the special bit?
Yeah.
The special segment. Nudge, wink, wink. I'm waiting for it to come up.
I'm all ready. So is he.
And there it is. So Mike Crack says this week, what a great race. First person to the whole one. And that's what it is. It was the first person to the race whole one. Do you agree with that, Mike Crack?
Apparently he does.
I think he's nodding yes.
Yeah, he's nodding.
Thank you very much indeed, everybody. That's going to be the end of the show. We got one more comment from Bob. I haven't read it yet. I'm just going to put it up because he is obviously a huge contributor to the show. He was probably making gestures. while making tumbling airtime.
Yeah,
He was probably sitting there going, "Oh, mamma mia! You do this to my car! I fuck you up hard." So that
Italians
was my best Italian.
Italians are the reasons that Formula One cars don't have horns.
Oh dear, all rear view mirrors apparently. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's another joke. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Bub, for being here. Really appreciate you. Hey, Geo Sam, great to see you. Thank you for coming by. Thank you very much for the likes on everybody. Thank you to my guests, my co-hosts, Fabio, and obviously Pit Lane Peter. And we're off to Silverstone, so I've got you. You can stay in the shed if you like this time. So we're going to save a bit of money for next week.
Wait a minute. The UK is famous for having the fastest shed. If you can get me that one.
Is it really?
It is.
No, it's the shed at the bottom of my garden.
There's a shed in the UK that you can actually race in. So yeah. I mean, it's just a few bucks more. I mean, I don't even know what they pay people with in the UK. Do they have money? What's it called? We forgot.
Yeah. We invented it.
I'm sorry, guys. Do you want me to take a shovel to see if we can dig a little bit deeper? Because we're scraping the bottom here. Now we have to start digging. I got a shovel. I mean, I can start digging. If you two guys want to keep.
You'll find a shovel in Simon's shed.
I'm gonna get this joke out if it kills me. You can stay in my shed. It's beyond the moat, so I don't have to worry. Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for the show. I will see you at Silverstone in 2 weeks' time. In fact, we may be doing a show, Fabio, might we?
Mm-hmm.
We may be doing a show next Monday.
Yeah,
I'm going to pencil that in. Yep, okay, great. Yes. So everybody, watch out for next Monday's show. We got a special coming up. It's not on Formula One, but it is on something very interesting. And I look forward to seeing everybody then. Until then, take care and roll the outro.
Okay, Hangout is off air, so. And you let me know when I can stop streaming.